Occasionalism's answer to natural evil. As discussed in a previous video, occasionalism is the idea that natural substances, human or other, lack the capacity to cause any effects. All natural substances can do is create the occasion for the causal interaction, and it is God who actualizes the causal effects. So what secondary causes do is will the interaction and create the occasion for the interaction to take place. This means that every event in the world can only be caused by God. For me blinking, to the eruption of a volcano, to the birth of people with conspicuous genetic deformities. This view doesn't create any contradiction between God's benevolence and moral evil. It is natural evil that poses a bit of a problem. Now, the existence of evil is one of the strongest attacks against the Abrahamic God. In Abrahamic theism, God is conscious, omnibenevolent, and omnipotent. Yet, this God allows, or according to occasionalism, actualizes a lot of evil that permeates the world we live in. Evil is divided into two categories. There is moral evil, which is the evil that is committed by the hands of men, and there is natural evil, which occurs naturally, like suffering from deformities, contracting painfully killing diseases. Moral evil is easy to address, since God's plan is to test humans and to reward the virtuous and punish the vicious. Humans should be able to choose whether to do good or bad. Otherwise, there wouldn't be any reward or punishment. It is natural evil that poses a bit of a problem. There is no apparent reason why God would actualize natural evil in the form of creating people with dire deformities, causing volcanoes to erupt, having lightning strike a mother on her way back home, and have her kids be deprived of her. All systems of belief that worship an omnibenevolent, omnipotent God in the Abrahamic fashion must have an answer for that. In this video, we'll look at the answer that occasionalism offers. There are many occasionalists who propose different answers. In this video, we'll look at Malebranche's occasionalism. God created the world that is governed by laws. Laws of physics, climactic laws, biological laws, and different sorts of laws. Leibniz, Malebranche, Al-Ghazali, Maimonides, all these philosophers who believe in Abrahamic theism have no doubt that the world as it is, with a particular set of laws that govern it, is the best possible world. The question is, after establishing these laws for the world, can God intervene to block or to suspend them or not? If the answer is yes, God can intervene to change the laws, then every divine intervention would qualify as a miracle. So what is occasionalism's position on miracles? Or more precisely, what is Malebranche's position on miracles? Because not all occasionalists think the same thing. Let's start from scratch. According to the occasionalist thought, every act of causation is in its essence miraculous. It is miraculous because it requires the intervention of God. God is the only cause behind every event. But as we've seen before, what is meant here by miracles is for God to act in a way that is contrary to the laws that He set for the world. It is important to investigate miracles because stopping natural events, natural evil, amounts to a miracle. According to the laws of the world, volcanoes must erupt from time to time, diseases have to emerge and infect people, a number of newborns have to come to this world with genetic deformities. So for God to intervene to shield an unsuspecting kid from being splashed by lava means for God to act against the laws that He established for the world, and this is a miracle. Let's recap. A miracle is not something that requires the extraordinary intervention of God to actualize in effect, because that is what God does all the time. A miracle is an event that happens in a way that is contrary to how things habitually happen according to the laws that God has set for the world. This is based on Le Traité de la Nature et de la Grâce by Malebranche, written in 1680. Malebranche says that, in theory, God can act in two different ways. The first one is by general volition, and this is how God usually acts. The other one is by particular volition. General volition means in accordance with the laws that God has willed for the world. Such laws are gravity, thermodynamics, motion. Acting in particular volition refers to an act of God which is done outside the laws that God has set for the world. It is whether God acts by particular volition or not that answers Malebranche. First, he says that God does not act by particular volition because it would mean that his system is fallible and needs tweaking. It is a greater testament to God's omnipotence that his system of laws works perfectly and doesn't need to be suspended. First, Malebranche writes, never does God act by particular volition. He says that God can of course act by particular volition, but it's just that he doesn't, because it wouldn't be befitting of his grandeur to establish a system that requires tweaking. Later, especially during his correspondence with Arnauld, Malebranche would change this position and concede that God does act in particular volition, but that these occurrences are far and between. Then Malebranche would change his position again and say that God always acts by general volition, except for one single act that he undertook by particular volition. It wasn't occasioned by any system or order, and it is the decision to create a world, and we'll look into that in a moment. Malebranche says that there are two systems that explain everything that happens in the world: the order of nature and the order of grace. The order of nature includes the laws of physics, motion, all the scientific realities that govern the world, the unison between the mind and the body. Suffice it for me to will to raise my arm, and God actualizes the raising of my arm. The laws of reason and logic. We use reason, we recognize what is logical and what is not. We can make sense of the words through reason. We can recognize what is logical and what is not. We know that the part is smaller than the whole. The order of grace includes the following: laws that enable invisible beings like angels to move substances in the world. The laws of grace handed out by Christ. This means that Jesus Christ can bestow grace on people's souls. Now, all events that are in accordance with the order of nature are not miracles. They're actualized by general volition. For example, if I drop a pin and it falls down because of gravity, I don't consider it a miracle. Events that result from the order of grace constitute a form of miracles. For example, if an invisible being, an angel or a demon, willed to lift a substance, God will actualize it, and to us it would constitute a miracle. It would seem a miracle. This way, Malebranche reconciles the existence of miracles with God's actions in general volition. So if we witness a miracle, it doesn't necessarily mean that God acts by particular volition. It's still by general volition. It's just that it is within the order of grace. Events can also stem from laws of the order of nature, but we just don't have the science to comprehend them yet, like when people witnessed an eclipse but didn't have the knowledge to comprehend what that was. It's not a very frequent phenomenon, and they didn't have the science to understand it. Many commentators, especially Nadler, believe that Malebranche's real position is the denial of miracles that result from God's action by particular volition. The chronicled miracles are simply divine acts whose occasions exist in the order of grace, which is different from the order of nature. There is textual evidence from Malebranche's treatise on nature and grace, where he demystifies the miracles in the Old Testament. Miracles like Moses parting the sea, by saying that the said miracles were not willed by God, they were occasioned by angels and actualized by God in the same way God actualizes everything. Malebranche concedes that there are some divine acts that are neither occasioned by the order of nature nor by the order of grace, but they are still occasioned by an order called order with capital O. It is an order that precedes the creation of the world, and it is when God acts in accordance with the highest order to actualize his divine grandeur. For example, every act of God is in accordance with God's attributes, and this is order. So in a sense, God never acts independently from any order. God's action is either in accord with the order of nature, the order of grace, or with the order. In Entretien, Malebranche states that the only time God acted in pure particular volition is when God willed to create the world and created it. There is nothing that occasions God to create a world. God is self-sufficient. He doesn't need anything. He doesn't want anything. There is no motivation for God to create a world. Now, let's not confuse the creation of a world and the creation of this world. The former is a completely free act. The latter, creating this world rather than any other world, is motivated by order. This word is the best possible word. Leibniz, Malebranche, Al-Ghazali. The implication from this is radical. Although Malebranche wouldn't want to concede it, his adversaries pointed the finger at it, and I think you know what I'm driving at. This is what Malebranche is saying. Apart from one single act, the decision to create a world, all God's acts are undertaken according to some order. What this means is that God's actions are not completely free. And this is the topic of the next video. This one has reached its end. Until we meet again, have a great day.